A few weeks ago, I issued out a challenge to you guys where I asked some of you who have questions that you'd like me to respond to submit those questions via my Instagram. To those of you who also want to participate, make sure that you are following me on Instagram. My handle is at it's Aaron Shoe. All you need to do is simply slide into the DMs with your question. Before we get into today's video, I would like to put out a disclaimer out there. Number one, whatever information I share on this channel is based on my personal experiences as someone who has had a disability all his life. I have never claimed to have all the answers in the world, and I also know that when it comes to disability, there is no one size fits all. Today's question is coming from a good friend of mine, Takawira.
Mr. Aaron Shu, I have a question for you. What advice would you give to someone who's about to give up their life because they're living with a disability?
Thanks, man, for such a well thought out question. I think a good starting point is to talk about maybe why someone who has a disability may feel like they need to give up on life. This is mainly to do with the way that society mostly views disability. Once someone gets a disability or becomes disabled, they feel like it's going to be the end of the world. Because deep inside, they know that the way that people view them and treat them is going to be somewhat different. However, things don't need to be so hopeless or feel so hopeless because there are ways of dealing with disability that can help to make things just a little bit better and easier. From what I've observed and seen in my own life as well as the lives of those around me, whenever something major or difficult happens in someone's life, people will be quick to tell you to be strong, to move on, to pick yourself up from the ground and keep going. While it's important to pick yourself up from the ground and keep going, it's also important to take time and process what is happening to you. So when you find yourself all of a sudden with a disability or an impairment, you are allowed to feel sad, to feel maybe a little angry, a little disappointed. Rant as much as you need to. Cry about it. Let it out. And then after you've had your fair share, make sure that you don't stay in that state for too long. Yes, you are allowed to cry, you are allowed to be angry, you are allowed to feel sad, but don't allow yourself to stay in that state forever. After you've taken time to process what is going on in your life, maybe the next thing you need to do is accept what is going on. Acceptance is key. Come to terms with your new reality or with your reality. As much as you may not like it, the fact is you now have an impairment. You now have a disability. And the earlier you accept it, the better. The earlier that you acknowledge that, yes, I now have a disability or I have a disability, the faster you'll be able to move on with your life. The next thing that I would recommend for someone who has a disability and feels like they want to give up on life is to realize that they can still be very much happy even with a disability. I know that for some reason, a lot of people think that once you have a disability, you cannot be happy or live a meaningful life or a purposeful life. That is simply not the case. When you realize that life can still be good and be worth living, you will not feel like giving up. You will find the strength to keep going. I would also recommend that the person who has a disability should also join disability support groups. Become a part of a disability support group. Hang out with people who are going through similar things in life. You'll be surprised by how much encouragement you'll find from such groups to keep on pushing and to keep on going forward with life. I also was one of those people who felt very segregated and alone until I started associating with other people with disabilities. And that's when you realize that things are not as bad as they may seem sometimes. My next recommendation would be take some time to understand your condition and how it affects your body. This will ensure that you have more information about your condition and its implications on your life. And the more you understand about your condition, the easier you'll make things for yourself. Surprises will be less. You'll know how to take better care of yourself, which is something that will also help you in terms of feeling positive about life. I would also recommend to take care of your health. And by your health, I don't mean just your physical health, but your mental health as well. Because most of the battles are fought in the mind first before they can be won anywhere else. It's important to take care of yourself both physically and mentally. Being in a good, healthy space will also ensure that your mind and your body are also in a good, healthy space. And this will help you to feel just slightly better than you would normally. What I would recommend are the usual things: sleep well, eat right, exercise as much as you can, drink a lot of water, go for therapy, go for counseling, and also make sure that your mind is taken care of. And once we take these steps towards a healthier life, you'll also discover that your mindset will also start to shift and you start to feel maybe just a little bit more positive than ever before. It's also important to remember not to focus on the things that you can't do anymore, but to focus on things that you can still do and enjoy. Do more of those things. You may not know how to do 35 things anymore, but you still know how to do 4 or 5 things. Focus on those 4 or 5 things, and they will make your life as fulfilling as possible. Don't give up. Don't give up on yourself. Surround yourself with loved ones. Be open with them, talk to them, let them know what you're going through, and allow people to support you, allow people to be there for you. I know that the temptation is to chase everybody away, but doing that usually doesn't help much. So, those are maybe some of the things that I would recommend to someone who is feeling a little bit overwhelmed by their disability. Of course, I don't claim to have all the answers, but maybe trying some of those things may help.